introduce Antonio while he is getting his presentation ready. He has a PowerPoint and also a video. Antonio Claret Garcia Martinez has a PhD in history from the University of Huelva in Spain. He's a specialist in medieval history, the history of written culture, and the history of nursing. He's a professor at the University of Huelva, where he teaches paleography, diplomatics, and history of the book. Since 1989, he's developed as the main line of research the history of nursing in Spain and its influence in Latin America since the late Middle Ages and throughout the modern world, the 15th to the 18th centuries. His main activity is research, study, and publication of written sources belonging to this period. He's the author of a wide scientific production presented in conferences in Spain and abroad, London, Malta, Lisbon, Oporto, and other cities. Founder and director since 1993 of the Journal of Nursing History, Hiatus, and with 11 issues published. And he's also director of Pluralidades, the website dedicated to promoting the history of the nursing profession. And he's a member of boards of several of the various journals and scientific associations. So he's going to be talking about from medieval to modern nursing in Spain in the 16th century, new techniques, new places, new ideas, and new nurses. And his brother is Manuel, who will present in just a few minutes. So, and I'll introduce him separately.
Thank you very much, Barbara. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank, of course, the organization committee having accepted our paper and to share with all you our little experiences. Study history of nursing. Thank you very much, Susan. Yes, I have entitled my paper From Medieval to Modern Nursing in Spain in 16th Century. New techniques, new places, new ideas, and new nurses. I'd like to start with a reflection. Sources for the history of nursing. A long way done, but a long way to go, of course. Spanish nursing history research has changed considerably in the last 25, 30 years. Considerably. A very important number of researchers throughout the country, from the south to the north, east and west, has incorporated to the task and contribute better know our history. Looking sources. Looking sources. This has been possible, an important number of publications, conferences in all the country, websites, projects of researchers. This has been possible greatly by discovering and studying a huge amount of historical sources in all the country. Some of them dated back to 13th century. Here is a map of Spain. I'm going to talk about our personal experience studying and searching in different institutions, libraries, and archives in all Spain. Personal study. Here I put the more important city where my brother and me have researchers. For example, Sevilla is our city. We was born in Seville and work in Seville, and of course study in Seville. Seville has important institutions, important archives, important libraries with ancient documentation. But also Madrid, the capital of Spain, very important Valladolid. In Valladolid, there are many important archives with ancient documentation. Salamanca, an ancient university, medieval university. Toledo, and also Lisboa, because Portugal belonged to the Spanish crown between final of 16th century to the middle of 17th century, belonged to the crown of Spain, and a lot of record documentation is found here in National Library or in Arquivo da Torre do Tombo, an important institution in Portugal. Here I take the more important institution, Civil, Sevilla, Archivo de la Diputación, a local archives, Archbishop archives, important, Archbishop archives, Archivo General de Indias, now we'll see it, very important to study the history of Spain and America between late 15th century and early 19th century, very important, and another archives and library. I'm going to talk about some of these institutions, and we are going to talk some examples. Archivo de la Diputación Provincial de Sevilla, Regional Archive of Civil. This archive has 40th century documentation on hospital and nursing. A little video. It's very important to us that this institution let us to record and digitizing the document. This is 17th century documentation. Here appear, for example, nurse's salary, very important. Nurse's salary, 17th century. Enfermería de eclesiástico, ecclesiastical nurses, very, very beautiful. It's an important documentation. This archive preserved 40th century documentation, 14th century. Very interesting. In this institution, Archivo de la Diputación de Sevilla, this is a list of the documents it preserved. Different hospitals, Hospital de San Lázaro, lepers, la lepra, since 1322 years. 56 bundles, both of documents, bundles. Hospital de los Inocentes, the same years, 1322 to 1851. Hospital de las Bubas, 1377 to 1866. 47 bundles. Hospital, Holy Spirit Hospital, Amor de Dios, 14th, 15th century, 15th century, 15th century, 17th century, 15th century, 15th century, a lot of very, very interesting document and records. An important date. In Seville, in 16th century, we mustn't forget that Seville became one of the most important cities in this century because of the discovery of America. All trade with America was centralized in Seville and came to be about 100 hospitals. Little, medium, and big hospitals. Many of them get documentation. Not all documentation, because the Civil War, the events in history, was This is a beautiful document belonging to the hospital of San Lázaro for lepers. It's a fake. It's in the archives, the telephone in the archives. It's in parchment, a beautiful document. His writing is very beautiful in the 15th century. It's the creation of a brotherhood that found a hospital for lepers. It's very beautiful. It's, let me, the expression is a pleasure to touch a parchment. It's a 15th century document. A beautiful, decorate initial letter. It's the foundation of the brotherhood that after create a hospital for lepers in Sevilla. This is one of the greatest hospitals in 16th century Europe. The hospital of Cinco Llagas, or the Blood of Christ Hospital. 16th century, actual is the regional parliament. The building is actually the regional parliament in Andalusia, in Spain. No? We can see it's a large hospital, 100 meters hospital, 2 floors, 16th century. An important document is preserved of this hospital. It's another. It was one of the largest hospital built in 16th century. This is the testament, very beautiful, the testament of Catalina de Rivera, the woman that founded the hospital and gave economic funds to build the hospital. It was usually in this period as obra de caridad, charity work, create hospital. It's a beautiful, beautiful document, the testament, Catalina de Rivera, 15/5. Here I saw the documentation preserved in this institution about this hospital, Blood of Christ Hospital, since 1422. Has document before the foundation, because this archive take documentation from another institution. 1922 and 16, correspondencia, letters, administrative book, expediente, many kind of administrative. 207 bundles of documentation. And so we can go on with another archives. This is Archbishop Archives. 14th century documentation is conserved here. Okay, the installation. And very, very important, the National Archives of Indias, Archivo Nacional de Indias. This archive has an important part of the history of America. An important part. Now that I have a barra in front of me, last week a friend of mine working in these archives told me, Antonio, I have found important document on nursing belonging to Florida and Louisiana. in 18th century, when this part of the United States belonged, were colony of Spain, of course. We must remember San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Antonio, the names San Diego, Santa Monica, Nuevo Mexico, Mexico, Florida. It's a long line that highlight the colony of Spain in 18th century. And this friend told me, Antonio, I just see the important document on hospital and nursing belonging to Florida and Louisiana. He worked here and used a lot of documentation. Very, very important, Archivo Nacional de Indias. The University Library of Sevilla, of our university. This is a very important institution for us, for my brother and for me. Because in 1989, when I was studying history in Seville, we found a little book. A little book entitled, in Spanish, Instrucción de Enfermeros. Instruction to Nurses. A little book published in 1625. In this moment, we didn't know what was that. Written by a nurse. Written by a nurse. It's a detail very important. In 5 minutes. 5 minutes, yes. But this book, passing the time, we have found 5 more editions. This little book, Instruction to Nurses, was used in Spain, in all Ibero-America. Now, thanks to internet, we found that in Chile, in the National Library of Chile, in the British Library of London, 2 years ago, when we participate in the international conference in London, we went to International Library, and there was edition, a volume of Instruction of Nurses, of 2 nurses. I don't know exactly how to translate the title. No, very important. Oh, a treaty written by nurses for training nurses. This one. This edition, 2 centuries. Well, another document, 13, Foundation Hospital, 1337. 13 different little villages of Sevilla. Another nursing treaty, Directorio de Enfermeros, Directory to Nurses, manuscript, preserved in the Library of Salamanca, the University Library of Salamanca, written by a nurse. Written by a nurse. He finished this book in 1651. 1651 is an open window to nursing practice. It isn't a theoretical book. This is an experiences book, a lived book. The book written by nurses working 25 years in a hospital, close to the ill, knowing the sick, knowing the space. This manuscript, Directorio de Enfermeros, Directory to Nurses or for nurses, very, very, very interesting. Archivo de Simancas. Well, this is, for me, a very, very interesting document. This document is in the Chancellery archives in Valladolid. 1547. 1547. A physician, a medicine, asks for a salary increase to the king, of course. Not only for him, but for his nurse, female nurse. 1547. Here appears enfermera, enfermera, nurse, female nurse. Only one line, perhaps only one line. But behind this one line, there is a life. There is a woman, there is a nurse. A nurse asking an increase of salary. A woman that himself called nurses, enfermera. 16th century. Frequently, my colleague, belonging to another sanitarian profession, tell me, Antonio, nursing is a very young profession. And I think to myself, if I could call this woman nurse working in a prison, not in hospital, in a prison. It's a terrible place to work, in a prison of chancellery. Answer this woman, if nursing is a young profession. Eh? Well, I'm going to finish. A lot of, this is very important also for us. This is the canonization process of a nurse, Bernardino de Obregón, a male nurse that founded a congregation of nurses, In the title of the congregation appeared the term, the word, nurses. No night nurses. And in this constitution appeared, we are nurses. No medical, no priest, no, we are nurses. Second half of 16th century. Sources. A lot of sources there. Here, the process of canonization is very beautiful document. Lisbon, National Library of Lisbon, Torre do Tombo, National Archive of Lisbon, etc. Now I conclude. 23 years investigating nursing history. We think that between 1550 and 1650 in Spain have produced important change. ¿Dónde tengo? Esto me lo paso. No puedo hablar nada de esto. The two manual. Important change that basis on hygiene, new hospital, the building different medieval hospital, hygiene, diet, important, the diet, the water, different kind of waters, and methodical implementation of medical treatments. These two treatises, writing by nurses, speak of all this. Final of the 16th century and the middle of 16th century. There is, conclusion, I go directly, there is a large and rich documentation deposited in Spain related to Spanish nursing and its colonies, which is allowing to us a better understanding of nursing characteristics in Spain and Iberoamerica, and its international projection, especially since the end of the 15th century. Hygiene, diet, methodical implementation of medical treatment. It could be argued that since the end of 16th century, there are important changes in Spanish nursing, noting new ideas, new places, new techniques, and new nurses who begin to transform nursing profession. My brother tells you the second part of this chapter. Thanks very much.
Questions? We have time for a couple of questions. Suzanne.
Thank you very much. It's so interesting and so impressive to see all these old archives and all the old documents. But now I need to know, all these documents is in Latin or how do you transcribe them, and what do you do in the process in the transcription? Because it's very hard to read it, I know.
In Spain, since the middle of 13th century, they started to use Romance language. Latin, of course, but also Castellano, actual Español, Catalan, in other part of Spain, Valenciano, Gallego, different languages. We can find documentation of all these languages. In Latin, of course, in Castilian, Español, actual, but in the other language speaking in the Iberian Peninsula. It's a very mosaic, in medieval time in Spain. So, documents in Latin, of course, in Castilian, of course, in Catalan, of course, in Gallego, any language.
Are you able yourself to transcribe all these documents so you kind of can do all these languages, or do you get any help from? I know I've been in the archives. It's very hard to read these documents, and you have to be very educated on a lot of languages in the 15th century or something. So how have you been in this program?
We have translated many documents, but not all of them. For example, Latin in Latin. I asked help, colleague from Latin, because it's translate and transcribe two different operations. First, transcribe ancient writing to actual, and then translate to Castilian. There is history needs to help each other, of course, because the amount of documentation is very important.
Back there.
So, thank you very much for the paper. So, to complicate things more, I wonder about the Jewish sources and the Arabic sources. You must have explained it.
It's a very interesting question because in the Peninsula Iberica, in the Iberian Peninsula, Islamic last until 1492. 1492, Islamic presence in Spain. But all documentation in Arabic language in Spain have disappeared. Of course, when cities are occupied, the conquest destroy an important part of its culture. It documents paper parchment in fire. Then it's possible go out, perhaps Morocco, perhaps because a lot of Arabic family migrate to the north of Africa. And the more important document, they port it. But it's a very difficult integration research, very difficult. And so, of course, the language, the Arabic language.
And did you have a question?
No, it's not a question. it could be an answer to Susan's question. It's funny, I was in the library of Toledo about 50 years ago and looked in one of these hospital books, and I was very astonished because I could read it. And it was not Latin, it was not French, it was not Italian, it was not Spain. It was something that just in between, and also you could say that something that was in German. It's very funny with these languages. And also when I read from a book from 1574 in Old German, the German is not like German today. It's more like something between Dutch, Swedish and German. It's very funny.
It's very interesting.
Perfect.
One more question. Yeah.
Do you so kind and tell me about something about success of this canonization process of Bernardino?
Yes. Well, it's a very important item for us, for my brother and for me, because we are working on it since 1993, 94. This process is an experience of 500 folios. 500 folios.
She is a saint or not?
No.
Process
Open
was...
the process in 1633. Reopen the process in 18th century. But Rome is Rome.
Rome said no.
It's very, very...
Oh, yeah. Today is
And
open
today,
the process.
It's open again the cost of canonization. But he was a nurse. And the documentation, but the documentation that has gone appear is increased constantly. Toledo, my brother and me went to Lisbon precisely finding documentation of the
Just one last question.
Well, that's lovely. Thank you for your nice view for us of the beautiful archives. I have two questions. Are all the documents in the archives, are they about to be digitalized?
Yes.
Are they coming on the internet so we can have access to them? That's one question. The other question is the beautiful parchment. I know that there will often be drawings too. Have you found any drawings of the nursing procedures?
The first question, fortunately, many institutions are open in internet the documentation.
Yeah.
For example, el archivo de India, the archives Indian, if I don't but remember, has in internet a third, I think a third of its documentation.
Yeah.
Digitization.
Yes.
There is a portal, a website,
Yeah.
to search document in it.
That's great.
Very, very easy. The other question, Inga?
Did you find any drawings that show nursing?
Drawing? No. Drawing? No. Hospital plant?
Yeah.
Yes, it's usual. But drawing, in our documentation? No, Inga.
That's a
We wait for
yeah,
for
okay. I hope you find it.
Thank you so much.